Welcome back to the Level Up and Live podcast. I'm your host, Sean Meyers, and today we're spotlighting a leader who's building his life and career with intention, not chaos. Robert Cabell is the general manager at Revolution Power Sports here in Montgomery County. He's a husband, a dad, and a powerhouse operator committed to growth, health, and leadership. Today, we're pulling back the layers on his journey, the trials that shaped him, and who he's becoming as he leads one of the strongest teams in Montgomery County. Robert, welcome to the show, brother.
Well, thank you. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a good one. I'm super pumped. So for our listeners and audience that do not know Robert, somebody meeting you for the first time, who is Robert today as a leader, a husband, and a dad?
Oh, man. I would say Robert today is a very high energy, empathetic leader that focuses around his KPIs and making sure that the team grows as a whole, not only financially, but also spiritually and personally.
Man, I love that. And that's what we call alignment. And as long as they're doing that, then they're not neglecting or falling out of alignment with these other areas of life. And that's important to us, is what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of people try to focus on a work-life balance, but they forget that there's a lot of other aspects of your life that has to be in alignment to in order to truly achieve that.
Now, the season of life that you're in right now, I know you have just joined Revolution Power Sports, and you guys have had one of your best months yet since joining. I'm sure that probably felt pretty good coming in the first month and having one of the best months at Revolution Power Sports.
It did. I've walked into many roles, and for years, my main goal at 24 Hour Fitness, I was recovering clubs and kind of rebuilding and establishing teams. And you never know whenever you start a new job and with a new team, how the culture is going to be, and if everyone is like-minded and in full alignment with the direction that everybody wants to go. And, coming on board, kind of walking into Phil Micah's shoes, it was a breath of fresh air, seeing the fact that there was such a strong culture. And I feel that the culture hasn't really changed. It's just we've gotten a little bit closer, which has allowed us to all come together and kind of break some of those records.
So when you walked into this business, and you'd mentioned that you felt the presence of a strong culture. What do you think's been the catalyst to having such a strong culture to this company?
I definitely think that, with our owner, Micah, with his leadership and, everything, I think that has definitely contributed toward the culture. But one of the things that I've seen throughout the years is it's really hard to have a bad day in the power sport industry. It's like nobody wakes up angry and goes and buys a four-wheeler or a side-by-side. And unfortunately, I've been in the car business. I've, been on the other side of power sports with Harley Davidson, and throughout auto and even just motorcycles in general, there's always some form of negative energy that goes into it, because somebody is trading in their car because it broke down, or somebody got into a car accident and they're having to replace their car and they had just paid it off and didn't want a car note. As opposed to here, it's like whenever people call us, they're like, man, I just want to go out and have fun. What do you have that I can have fun with? What do you have that I can, I've got 3 kids. I want to be able to take them all out. I want to be able to, ride around the ranch, do some work, but also go play around in the mud. And then at the end of the day, whenever I'm tired, I want the kids to be able to go out and have fun by themselves on it.
That's really good. When I hear you say, like, I just want to have fun, that's what you're providing, and that makes it that much more enjoyable, because if it's in alignment with having fun as well, if that's a part of your trait or your personality. And I was raised on four-wheelers, side by side, so it's interesting that you say that. Is like, man, I wonder if I had ever became a salesman or worked at a dealership like that, because I enjoy doing that. I embody that, and how I would have been able to reflect that in my passion to the people that are buying it, because I would have been able to sell some units, man, because I'm like, look, you come out here, you got 4 wheels, everybody's going to be turning heads, especially when you load it up. You're going to be that guy. You can walk away because you embody that. And that's what I'm hearing you say is like, you're for fun. And then I built an insurance company for the last 10 years. And in this insurance company, it's just not sexy. I had a friend that told me this about 8 years ago. He's like, one of the challenges that you have, Sean, is the thing about insurance company with your customers and even your team, it's just not sexy. Like insurance, people are like, they got to have it. They frown upon it. So I had to really shift my mind. I was like, okay, how can I frame this? How can I frame this around with our customers, our team? And I did just that. It's like creating a peace of mind, taking frustration to a peace of mind. When it comes to your insurance, yes, 99.9% of your agents, they're going to lack of communication, lack of understanding. They're not going to educate you. You're going to have to call a 1-800 number. But when you call us, it's going to be like a breath of fresh air. You're going to have that peace of mind. You're going to have from frustration to peace. And people are like, whoa, my resting heart rate went down. So it's really framing that mindset around that. Any thoughts on that?
No, definitely. It's making insurance sexy again. It's like just being able to and I will tell you as a consumer, I battle that all the time. As we've kind of talked about it before. I'll need something. I mean, I think the problem that it kind of takes away from insurance is the fact that you're right. There's nothing that's sexy about it, but we all try to get cheaper rates, and then at the end of the day, whenever there's a claim to be made, it is unless you can actually reach out and talk to your agent, it is a long process. And there's a lot of things that, if a homeowner doesn't really talk to their insurance agent to let them know exactly what they need, there could be, riders that were not added onto that policy that would have made or broke that whole house. I mean, prime example is, 2 years ago, I spent a lot of time cooking at my house. I own a meal prep company and I'm a chef. And unfortunately, I used my house probably 3 times what a commercial kitchen would be used like. So being a residential house, the plumbing just isn't supported to handle that. Well, I had a main plumbing line collapse underneath my house, which, as you know, anything under the slab is not covered under insurance. Well, there was a rider that I could have added on there, which I did add on there. But when my policy renewed, they pulled it out to cut the rate. So I ended up having to spend a little over $20,000 out of my pocket to fix my main plumbing line on my house. So it's like just the little questions that, you're right. From what I understand, especially with some of your agents that I've met, y'all definitely have more hands-on and are a lot more personal. But that's just the way to do it. I mean, if you really want to make insurance sexy again, it's just making sure that, you talk to your customers and you let them know, hey, man, Rob, I saw that you been doing a lot of cooking. Are you sure that your house can handle the stress on that? If not, let's go ahead and add this rider to it. Yeah, it's another $20, $30 a month, but at the end of the day, it's going to save you.
Yeah.
It's like a prime example on another one is I live in a subdivision called Norchester, kind of on the edge of Tomball, Vintage Park, Champions, and my subdivision is one of the top subdivisions historically over the last 40 years that we will get 5-6 foot of water in there when a flood happens. But guess what? 90% of the homeowners in my neighborhood don't have flood insurance.
Wow. Yep.
And unfortunately, I'm one of those as well. I don't have flood insurance on my house because, I'm one of the guys that's like, well, if Harvey was the first time my house flooded, I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen again. Yeah. Which is the worst way for me to look at it. But not being able to get my insurance agent on the phone, I haven't had somebody break that down to me and actually say, hey, look, your house had water over your kitchen island at one point. Do you really want to take that risk over an extra $150 a month?
That's so good. And one of the things when I'm hearing you say this, and this is so applicable to a lot of the emerging leaders and business owners that are listening to this, and whether they're leading a team or they're leading themselves or they're leading their business, is we all go through these different faucets and seasons of life. Because, I feel like when you're just starting out versus somebody that's been doing this 10, 15, 20 years, like you have to go through these different seasons of lives, pain cave, sufferings, experiences to really reflect back and go, okay, how can we distinguish ourselves, our business, our team, than the rest of the crew out there? And I feel like that's what's been a great separator, is learning from the mistakes. Because how did we end up being able to have this conversation in the first place? Whatever industry that you're in, it's because you've learned. Robert and Sean has learned from their past trials and errors and their tribulations and their mistakes, and then corrected course along the way. Whereas a lot of people that I've surrounded myself with over the years that have, are acquaintances or distanced myself, they haven't learned. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. And this can be in every area of life. So I'm curious with you, man, what season of life are you in right now? We have these different areas. We have business, we have relationships, we have spirituality, we have health. What season of life are you in right now, and what's stretching you the most as you step into this bigger leadership role in 2026?
I think for me right now, stretching into or stepping into my new role, it's Micah and I have talked about it a few times about the direction and the growth that we want to take Revolution Power Sports, and we definitely have the team that's we have a great solid team that's able to get us there. And regardless of what the industry is, it's all about people. And a lot of times people forget about the value of your human assets. I mean, if you have a great culture and a great sales team, you'll be able to kind of focus on other aspects of your life. Right now, the one that I'm struggling with the most on is my health, which is ironic that I can be, a master trainer with 13 certifications. I'm 3 credits away from my master's degree in nutrition, but yet I don't take care of myself. I don't eat the way that I should. I don't find the time to make it to the gym at 5 a.m. like I have for the last decade of my life. And, it's like I try to focus on some of the other things because I use it as a crutch. Oh, okay, well, I'm sure you've heard me mention my quote unquote layover. Going from Tomball to Conroe every day, I could get stuck on 45 for anywhere from 45 minutes up to my longest was 6 hours. So I do have a layover every day on the way to work, and I also have it on the way home. And I justify not finding time to focus on my health as, oh, I spend 3 hours of my day commuting. Well, I'm also self-aware to know that if I leave the house 30 minutes earlier and I work out in Conroe, I'm not sitting in traffic on 45. So I still have the same amount of time, and time management when it comes to my personal side on my health, I need to find that time, because it essentially, your body achieves what your mind believes. So if I'm sitting there telling myself that I'm sitting in traffic and don't have time, my body's going to say, okay, Rob doesn't have time.
Yeah.
But I spent all those years finding time for other people, telling them how there is no excuse. You need to make it happen. And, I think that going into 2026, that is definitely my main focus on my personal side, is to get my health back in alignment, because, I truly feel to be the best leader, you have to have a healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit.
Yeah. I agree with that 1000%. Yeah, because, I believe we have so much untapped potential. People listening to this, there's so much untapped potential in the mind, body, and soul that's all connected, especially the mind and the gut. It's connected. There's research to back it up. And you're doing the things that you're doing right now. And I appreciate your vulnerability. It takes courage and boldness to share that, but that's what you're going through. That's definitely relatable. And I know a lot of our emerging leaders are going through something similar. And just, one of the things that I have learned, even myself, just short 4 years ago, going through the same kind of concepts, is like, I'm focused on business. I'm focused on, this is the season of life right now. And it took all my time, energy, and effort. And then I picked my head up and, realized that, okay, well, I've neglected and sacrificed all these other areas of life. Was it worth it? And you know what my answer was? No, it wasn't. So I've had to learn from that. So yeah, it would be easy for me to go to these different areas of life and go, hey, this is the sacrifice. But that's not how I want to live my life. It may work for Elon Musk. It may work for Jeff Bezos, but they're going to end in, multiple divorces. They're going to crush it in business, but all these other areas of life are struggling. And that's okay. If that's what works for them, then that's great. But I'm living my life differently. And what I'm hearing you say is that's how you want to live your life differently as well. And you're going to do something about it. So I think self-awareness is the first step into anybody that's wanting to correct course, and that's one of the things that I've had to learn along the way is this an alignment? And is this the season of life that you're going through right now? Is it, where can you have those guardrails where you can really pull back the layers and have that accountability partner, put something in place to really design that week and that rhythm to help you get to where you want to go. And I love that you shared that, because I know other people are going through that same thing as well, with that health journey as well. So at least you're aware of that and you're going to do something about it. Are you already starting to plan for that, Robert, in 2026? Are you slowing down right now, doing any kind of reflecting on what that's going to look like, so you can share with us?
As much as I say that I would like to start planning for 2026, I think waiting another 6 weeks is too long. So
Yeah.
I think I need to implement whatever changes I'm going to make into my lifestyle and everything pretty much this weekend, and not being the guy that's like, oh, it's Thanksgiving, I'm going to put it off, or I'm going to start Monday, and next Monday it's going to be, oh, the following Monday, and just keep pushing it off.
Yeah.
But I set a goal 9 years ago whenever I found out that I was going to be a father, and I said, I was almost 300 pounds. I was very unfit, very unhealthy. At that time, I was a general manager for Mancuso. Left Mancuso, went over to Stubbs, working in the power sport industry, working with Harley Davidsons. At the time, I thought that it was truly what I wanted to do. And then when I met my wife and we found out that she was pregnant, I was like, man, I got to step away, because it wasn't what I wanted to do, because the culture was wrong. And it's like, that was one of the things that Micah and I, had talked about before, I came on board here at Revolution Power Sports. And it truly is, you spend more time with your coworkers, you spend more time with, at work than you do with your family. And if there's a broken culture, you're going to bring that broken culture home. It's like, I grew up in a household with, two very successful parents, and unfortunately they would bring home their stresses of work every night. And so I grew up thinking that was normal, and it's not. It's like, kind of like the definition of insanity. It's like, you can't expect a different outcome. Like, you've got to make a change, and you've got to do something to improve on that. And so I guess to go back full circle to answer your question is, yes, I've already figured out a gym here in the Conroe area that I could see myself working out at, and then bare minimum, there's 2 blocks away from my house that I have no reason that I can't just pack a gym bag every morning, work out, shower there, and then get in the truck and head here. But either way, I need to make sure that I start implementing that, because, like 9 years ago when I set that goal of every year on my birthday being more fit and healthy than I was the previous year, I did that 8 years in a row. And last year I turned 40. So I just turned 40 in March. And I was not healthier than I was when I was 39, 38, 37, 36. I actually regressed all the way back to when I was 300 pounds. I mean, I'm 230 pounds. So I definitely haven't put that back on, but actual health wise, I feel that, I've just regressed, and I owe it to my daughter. I owe it to my wife. I owe it to my team to regain that fit mentality that can fit into almost every other aspect of your life.
And why is that important to you?
Well, I mean, it's important because, it allows you to have a clear mind. I mean, a lot of people don't understand. People that don't work out don't understand what the gym does for people. And it's not just the endorphins that get released in the workout. It's being able to set a goal and achieve it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. That's something that's truly personal. It's not financial. It's not tangible. It's just something as simple as, you look at, you're walking by the free weights and you see there's a 120-pound dumbbell, and you look at it and you're like, man, who lifts those? You know what? No, I'm going to get to that. And then you hit 75, then you hit 85, then you hit 95. And then finally one day you go in there, you may have had a little too much pre-workout, and you're like, you know what? Give me the 120s. It's happening. And then that happens. And then the rest of the day, you've already set that mindset of nothing is going to stop you.
And do you feel like that emotional compelling nature is strong enough to pull you to align that with designing the week in the day that you want to live? Do you feel like that when you hear yourself say that, share that on the why, do you feel called to take action on that, on working out, making sure that you make it a priority? Because from my experience, one of the things when I struggle with a certain area of life, and for instance, spirituality, one of the things that I struggle with is spirituality. I don't want to go to married life. I don't feel like doing scripture. I don't feel like reading my Bible. And it's because I don't have a rhythm. I don't have an emotional compelling nature behind that. So now I tell my why. My why is, well, because I don't, and you know what my why is on the spiritual journey is when I don't do these things, Robert, I don't like the man who shows up when I don't do those things, when I don't read the devotions, when I don't read my Bible, when I don't want to go to church, when I don't go plug myself into married life, when I don't talk about my faith. The opposite guy is the Superman. He's the guy I don't like. He's the guy that doesn't. He's the guy I'm trying to kill. I want to be the Clark Kent. I want to be the spiritual leader. I want to be the Christian business leader. That's what I want my identity to be. Okay, well, what action steps and activities does that guy do? He does those things. He plugs himself. He gets comfortable getting uncomfortable, and he puts it on his calendar, because if it ain't on his calendar, it ain't happening. So do you feel like when you share the why, and even for our listeners and audience as well, it's like, why aren't we staring it down? Why aren't we doing these things when we know we need to do it? And then we make up, 15 other things that we have going on in our lives, but we want to make this a priority. Any thoughts on that?
It's kind of like, about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, whenever we first met and we had talked about the Superman Clark Kent. And, I kind of feel like after spending almost a decade of digging down to the why with people, peeling the onion layers apart to get to that internal core of why they wanted to do what it was that they were doing, why they wanted to lose 40 pounds, what is going to change if you wake up 40 pounds lighter tomorrow, and really peeling the layers back on that onion and finding out what the real definition of that why is. Yeah. I feel that as a man as a man who's woken up every morning for the last 25 years of my life as Superman and treating my day as Superman, burning bridges, and of course, breaking sales goals across the board everywhere, but not realizing why and how I could still achieve the same things as Clark Kent that I was achieving as Superman if I leaned on the people around me in order to do it.
Yes.
So, I just think for me, it's just, when I start peeling back the layers of the why for me on my fitness journey, I just feel a little too vulnerable. And I'm like, okay, Clark, let's put the cape back on for a minute.
Yeah. Well, at least you're aware of that. And I think that's a beautiful place. And I can resonate with that and relate with that. And a lot of times that's my superhero, is being Superman. I want to fix, I want to solve, that's going to get me to where I want to go. But I've realized it's like you said, I can be Clark Kent and still, put on that Superman. And I think there's a fine balance in how we show up with that, and tapping into those emotions, feelings, and thoughts, and really correcting course when we're out of alignment. I think that's the key. I think that's the key ingredient. And that's what it comes down to, is self-awareness. Man, you know what? I've been grinding for 60 days now, and I've neglected these other areas of life. Well, why did it take, I started asking myself, why did it take me 60 days? Why did it take me 5 years to gain 30 pounds? It took me years to gain 30 pounds. Well, it's because I wasn't aware of it. I didn't reflect. I didn't daily reflect. I was like, well, what am I doing differently than these other high achievers that are in alignment and, that I admire? Well, it's because they were reflecting daily. They were doing some of these things that I wasn't doing, but I thought I had to direct all my attention towards business. No, they were they were in alignment by reflecting on their values, their strengths, their mission, and who they were wanting to become. They were trying to consistently kill that old version of themselves. And then once they were aware of that, they're like, okay, well, how do I correct course? I don't have all the answers, but let's go down the road that somebody's already that's already down, that can help, that can pull me with me, and that we can go in unity together and hold each other to higher standards and accountability. And that's what I've learned is, with leadership, spiritual journey, health, in these different areas of life. And at the same time, understanding, like, I'm always going to be a student of the game. I know a little bit about a lot, but I know that I need to be a student of the game and be self-aware enough to know, like, I don't have all the answers figured out. I need to correct course. My marriage is in shambles for the last, it used to be maybe for a month or 2 months or 3 months. I've neglected it, but now now I can be aware of it in a matter of minutes. How is that possible? The reason it's possible is because I'm self-aware. I understand that I'm out of alignment. I'm focused on my health. I'm focused on my business. I'm focused on relationships. I'm focused on podcasts, but I've neglected my wife for the last week. How is that possible? because I'm out of alignment and I'm not reflecting to make sure that she's not getting her needs met. Okay, what do I need to do to correct course because I'm out of alignment? That only comes down to reflection. If you looked at the calendar, it will reflect that. In the past, for 5+ years, it was strictly just business. I didn't care about anything but just business. Show me your calendar, I'll show you your life. So it's like it really comes down to just falling back into alignment, because I don't believe in balance. I believe in alignment. To doing the health, relationship, spirituality, and business, you can align those together and run those vertical. Would you agree or have any challenges on that?
No, 100%. I mean, it's funny because, of course, everybody has a different personality type. And a lot of times in relationships, you either have identical personality types or polar opposites. And, as I showed y'all last week when we were sitting at the table for accountability, my 1,700 text messages that are unread and my 543 voicemails. And, then you have my wife, who doesn't have a single thing that's unopened, unread, unheard, unresponded to. You can look at her calendar. She has everything mapped out from both not only her calendar, but also my daughter's calendar. And, it's like, I know exactly what it is that I have to do and when I have to do it. I just need to start putting it down on paper so I can get everything lining up vertically instead of trying to do it horizontally and jumping hurdles every time as they come my way.
Man, speaking of that, with your leadership style, I'm really curious. I've been wanting to ask you this. You are very direct. You're very driven. You're very strong. And just getting to know you these last couple months, what experiences shaped that edge and that grit for you, Robert, these last 40 years?
It's kind of funny because, my mom was a very successful executive for a large management company for multifamily. My dad was a developer for a multifamily company. And I kind of took my own route and went to the sales side. And, in alignment with my mom, and, I'll admit it, I'm a mama's boy. I have to talk to my mom every day. Anytime I have any major decisions, I always call her, and her first response is, "Why do you call me if you do the polar opposite of everything I say?" And I was like, "Well, Mom, I spent 40 years learning how you do things, and I've seen the successes that you have from it, but you're just now seeing my successes from the sales side. And unfortunately, sometimes management personalities and sales personalities don't understand, because it's like on the management side, it's, self-awareness, it's, extreme ownership, it's holding people's hands. What can I do for you?" And on the sales side, sometimes it can get to the point where it's, your old school sales. It's, hey, get good or get out, sell or be sold. It's a lot of times on the management side, you don't quite understand the sales hat, and it seems like very aggressive. So from somebody who's had decades of success in sales, I'm able to pull my sales hat off, put my manager cap on, explain to the team why some of those things are important, especially when it comes down to self-confidence in sales. If you're too afraid to ask for the sale, you're not going to get the sale. If you ask the sale in the wrong way, you're not going to get the yes. So it's almost a double-edged sword of having a very strong sales personality type. And it's just at the end of the day, remembering that all of us are people, and we have to understand why people are doing that. Why is somebody calling you for insurance? Is it because they have lost a family member in the house and need to change the policy, or maybe they're getting married, or maybe they're moving and buying a house, or maybe they had a kid that turned 16 and need to add them to the auto policy? It's just being able to take that time and slow down and find out why people are doing what they're doing. And I think that that's where over the years I've had that ability to show on paper, I've done this, and then take a step back. How can I help you get there?
Yeah, and you've obviously have aligned that and embodied that, and you've seen progress and results from that. You've figured out what works and what doesn't work, and now you're paying that forward with your team. And when you came in October at Revolution Power Sports, you had a sales rep that hit a record-breaking month in October. So I'm curious, man, what separated him from months where the results weren't as strong compared to last month?
Honestly, I think what it was is it was, especially for that particular salesperson, it was having somebody come in with a strong personality that it it's just like what I was telling you about the Superman Clark Kent. I try to delegate stuff to my team, but I don't have patience. So if I'm like, hey, can you take care of this? And then 3 minutes later, I haven't seen them make any effort to do it. I just go ahead and do it. And
Mhm.
it's getting pushback. Like, so he pushed back on me for the first week, and he was just like, hey, you assigned those leads to me. I told you I was going to call them. And I was like, yeah, but by the time you got around to it, I already contacted them, text messaged them, called them, and emailed them.
Mhm.
It's like that's what a lot of people don't understand is there has to be a sense of urgency when it comes to
Yeah.
following up on leads and also in lead generation. If somebody calls in, write their name, phone number, get their email address, get all their information, throw them into the CRM, because if they're not a customer today, they could be next week, they could be the month after. So I think after some of the things that he saw me doing and heard some of the word track that I said, a lot of times especially in the automotive industry, where salespeople struggle is they become a customer advocate. They try to work the manager instead of working the customer. So
Mm.
rather than asking me, "Hey boss, can I take $1,000 off this side by side?" They should be asking the customer, "Hey Sean, I need another $1,000 down."
Mm.
And it's just hearing my word track of whenever asking somebody, hey, people that buy units like this typically put between $3,000 and $5,000 down. I'm assuming you're willing to do the same. It takes that, oh, I have no money down, right out of the equation from the get go. And I think that after they heard some of my word track, that's where, because he did. I mean, Dusty attached to me almost was my shadow. I mean,
Yeah.
6 weeks later, he still is. And
Yeah.
it's
Mm.
and I'm learning from him.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to be able to have somebody breaking their records and setting personal records. He just sold his 100th unit for the month last year, or I'm sorry, last week, and he texted me and said, I would really like to have, I don't remember what his goal was. I'd really like to have this. And I said, no, I want to see you at 150 by January,
Mm.
by the end of January. So that's 25
Mm.
units, which is going to beat his best month by five, two
Mm.
consecutive months in a row. And I was like, let's
Mm.
go. We got this.
And what I'm hearing you say is he's really had it in him all along. It's just when you came along, you helped create that, not only belief and that empowerment, but also as a leader, you had some different tactics, some strategies, and then creating that urgency is what's really helped him catapult and kind of get him not unstuck, but create that momentum.
And it's that's one of the very difficult tasks as a manager is being able to
Mm.
motivate and pull that talent that's always been in there out of people. It's like
Yep.
I have three salesmen, and I believe that all three of my salesmen are capable of doing 25 plus units a month. And
Mm.
it's just trying to figure out how I can support them in that way. I was
Yeah.
able to find it with Dusty, and that was, simply just challenging him,
Yep.
and then, kind of just joking around with him, just, typical stuff.
Mm.
He had 3 or 4 leads that came in, didn't do anything with them, and then I handed him a binder, and he shut it, and I was like, oh, you can close something. So just kind of messing with him like that, kind of got him. Okay, I'm going to push back a little bit, and then he turned around
Yeah.
and sold 4 units in the matter of 3 hours on a Saturday, and I was like, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
But no, it's
Mm.
like, and that's one of the things, typically too, that, I've somewhat struggled with over the years is whenever you do have a sales team and you have that top producer and then you have your middle sales and then you have your lower tiered salesperson, and you see that lower tiered salesperson, he has so much potential. He has almost more potential than your top salesperson is, and you just can't
Mm.
quite get them over that edge. You
Yeah.
lead them to water, you can't make them drink.
Right.
And it's
Yep.
just
Mm. Yeah, it's really good. What would you say two or three things that right now you're drilling into your team right now going into 2026?
asking the right questions. It's I think that a lot of times that we're getting people that apply for stuff online, and we will submit their credit and try to land them on a unit before calling them and asking them what their needs are. Hey, is it for the neighborhood? Is it for a ranch? Are you going to the mud park? Do you
Mm.
need 2 seats? Do you need 4 seats? Do you need 6 seats? It's actually finding out what they truly want, because we can spend all the time in the world getting somebody approved. If it's not the right unit, they're not going to buy it. So asking the right questions is one thing. Follow up is the second thing. You've got to follow up on your leads, because last month whenever we were able to have our top month for gross profit, we ended up finding almost a third of those sales that were lost in the CRM from 3, 4, 5 months back. And
Hmm.
looking at 19 pages worth of leads, I already know I've got 40 units in there that are just ready to go. I just have to ask the right question. So, it's asking the right question, making sure we follow up, and then communication. It's like I tell the team time in, time out, we have to be able to communicate effectively together. And effectively is the word. Just because you told somebody, hey, I'm doing this, doesn't mean that that's what they heard you say. So it's just making sure that there's clear communication amongst the team, making sure that there's transition between sales and service, and also between sales and the sales team. Because if we have, 5 people on the sales side, including, my finance manager and myself, we could all be working on the same bike and not know it and have the same bike sold to 3 people. It's happened to us twice in the last 4 days.
Really?
Where we've already taken a deposit on a bike and we've got another person trying to put a deposit on the same bike.
Oh, wow.
So it's like just making sure. And, that's one great thing is Micah has a way of definitely getting us some very fun and exciting inventory. And whenever we do get that new stuff, half of us have already posted on our personal social media. We've already started texting clients. We don't wait for somebody to walk in the door. We create that urgency and, man, hey, Sean, dude, we just got this. You got to come check it out right now. Leave me a $500 deposit because it's not going to make it an hour what it takes you to get here.
Yeah.
It's just kind of creating that urgency.
That's really good, man. Well, Robert, I just want to acknowledge you. I feel like you're the type with your personality, your temperament. We've talked on the phone before. We've been in the round tables together. And even on this podcast, we've went over today. Our conversation going back and forth, just ironing, sharpens iron. There's so much life experience here. And I'm grateful for you, man. I appreciate who you are. I'm excited to be on this journey with you at Level Up and Live. And because you bring so much value and you have so much knowledge and experience. And what I love most about you is that you're willing and you're able and you have the capacity to really design a life that you don't grow to hate without sacrificing these other areas of life. And me and you being both students of the game and going on this journey together, and you being on the podcast today, just opening up, being vulnerable, sharing with what you're working on at RPS. And man, you're just getting warmed up, brother. I can't wait to see what the future unfolds for you at RPS. And it's like I tell Mike all the time, I'm like, man, you really have a special one here. And as long as we continue to be a student of the game, and be self-aware that, hey, we know this much, and letting others pour into us, putting the pride and ego to the side, putting on the Clark, taking the Superman off and being Clark Kent, dude, like we're going to become an unstoppable force together. You guys are already doing big things. So I appreciate you saying yes to be on the podcast and sharing your journey, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How can our community at Level Up and Live, how can we support you? You've been nothing but valuable today, and drop some golden nuggets in there. How can we support you?
Really just if you hear anybody talking about 4-wheelers, side-by-sides, dirt bikes, anything like that, just send them on down to Revolution Power Sports. We'll make sure we get them taken care of. We treat all of our customers like family. And that's really just about it. Just making sure we continue to grow our brand and get the name out there.
There you have it, folks. So if you're in Montgomery County and y'all are delivering now, right? All over the world?
Nationwide.
Nationwide.
We just shipped the unit to Fort Lauderdale on Saturday.
Come on. So these guys are doing big things. Revolution Power Sports. We'll have the link in the show notes. You can also look them up. They're all over Google, social media. You cannot miss them. Robert, thanks again for being on the Level Up and Live podcast today. And for our listeners and audience, if this story hit home for you, connect with Robert and make sure you follow Revolution Power Sports and Robert leading the way there. He's definitely leading the charge. And if you're ready to level up your own leadership, your health, and your life, join us to Level Up and Live. Take one step, do the hard thing, live with intention. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks again, Robert.
Thank you.